Hello and welcome. This is the podcast as someone who doesn't read comics, where we do quite the opposite and read comics. Our hosts are me, Rebecca.
I am Paul.
And I am Brian.
All of us have recently gained an interest in reading comics. It's something that we generally didn't do before. I personally work in a video game comic book shop retro toy store. I generally a bit more on the video game side and decided, comics was something I wanted to start up. So that's where my interest lies.
And I personally was growing up a huge fan of the DC animated universe, like Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series and the Justice League Unlimited. So most of my knowledge of these characters and concepts comes from what's been presented by DC in its animated form, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, and as for myself, I also work in the same store as Becca. In addition, I've been collecting video games for years, so I have all of the old superhero video games and all of that kind of knowledge as well. So that's kind of where we're at, and we all, I guess, wanted to get a little bit more into the core of comics, so to speak.
Yes, so basically our podcast is going to be people who don't know a lot about comics, where they come from or any past knowledge of comics, giving a new perspective on comics. Today we're going to start with the New 52 Batman. So what basically happens is DC, with the New 52, started releasing new comics. They released issue 1s of like Batman, Superman, Batgirl, and a bunch of other superheroes. And they've just been basically keeping up with it with a way to get people into comics, so it was actually a really cool issue to pick up. Currently, we're going to be reading issues 1 through 12 of the Batman comic. This also relates to Volume 1, Batman Court of Owls, and Volume 2, Batman City of Owls, in the the trade covers, the collections, if you wanted to pick up and read along. The podcast is going to go in a section-by-section area. There's going to be a story section where we'll talk about the story. We'll talk about it in such a way that there's no spoilers. It'll just be kind of like a brief summary of what's going on, what's happening, the characters, the setting. The next section will be art. We'll talk about the art style, whether it's standable, not standable, characters are good-looking, or whether they all look the same type of stuff. And then the last section is going to be the spoiler section. We'll be discussing the book, our thoughts on it. We will, prior to the spoiler section, let you know it's the spoiler section. So if you haven't read the book and you're like, hey man, I really want to read that, you can go pick up the book at hopefully a local comic book shop or online or wherever you can get it from. Read it, start the podcast again, and then see if you agree with our opinions or not, or that whatever you want to do. Yeah, so just to get started on the story, we're also going to start mentioning authors, artists, and other things. So hopefully, as you listen to this podcast, you'll kind of be able to catch on and see if there's any writers or artists that you recognize, and you're like, oh man, I like their writing. The writer on this one was Scott Snyder, and the art was done a combination between penciling, inking, and colors by Greg Capullo, I'm gonna say. Jonathan Glapion.
Looked like Glaceon for a second, so I don't know.
My handwriting's terrible.
Yeah.
And the other person, FCO Palencia. I don't know what the FCO stands for, but that was written in the book.
Fine coloring.
FCO.
Oh, I was trying to make a...
FCO.
Ooh, this is going to sound bad. This is...
Ooh. You can cut that out.
Might have to edit that.
Bleeps are hard to do.
End scene. Okay, so, I guess first things first, some of the characters.
Some of the characters that are going to be appearing in this book, I mean, obviously Batman, Bruce Wayne, the Joker appears for a bit, but he's not a major character. A lot of the villains appear, like, in the beginning half, and they don't really make a big impact. Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne appear, which are the Robins and now different people like Red Hood and Nightwing and so many other things.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dick Grayson I think is the one who's the most prominent in the book.
Yeah, the rest of them show up for like a scene.
Yeah, so having some background on Dick Grayson's kind of nice. Commissioner Gordon's in it, and Alfred's obviously in it, and these are, between Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and Alfred, I assume they're pretty well-known characters that you really, Bruce Wayne's a rich guy. He dresses up like a bat.
That's
about all you need to know.
Spoilers, Becca.
Man, this is just going so smoothly.
But otherwise, like, basic storyline. I mean, we open up Batman's, like, attacking Arkham, or Arkham's escaping, like, I assume happens on a daily basis. For some odd reason, oddly, the Joker helps out, and everybody's like, yo, dude, what's happening? But it turns out it's Dick Grayson. And basically, it's actually been a while since I read the book. I can't even remember. Some guy gets murdered. I can't remember what his name is.
I don't know if his name was ever given.
I don't know either.
Okay. Long story short.
They name him John Doe at first, but I believe they actually do give him a name later. But, like, way later.
You'll have to read the book.
I was going to say, we're going to keep it a mystery. That way, it's something to compel the reader. Who is the name of this mystery murder victim that drives the plot forward, where all of a sudden what seems like a normal night in Gotham turns into this overarching conspiracy? Is there, an organization watching in the shadows? Is it just a folktale? What's going on? There's strange symbols everywhere. That's my cryptic synopsis.
That's the cryptic one.
Is that the cryptic synopsis?
No, I mean...
Am I supposed to be... I can be less...
Yeah, a guy gets murdered, Batman gets called up.
Like you do.
Yep, Batman gets called in. He discovers a message left for him that says Bruce Wayne's going to get attacked. Obviously putting him in danger. He does his detectiveness and discovers Dick Grayson's DNA on the guy. There's some big explanations. The Court of Owls is brought in, and it's a rhyme, like a folk tale kind of thing, that has been in Gotham for a while, and it's just said that basically the Court of Owls controls Gotham, from the shadows and stuff, and that if you do anything wrong, or if you wrong the court, they'll kill you, type of stuff. And Bruce is very against it existing and says it's always a folk tale. It somehow has to do with his parents' death, kind of, or at least he thinks it does, which is kind of weird. I thought, at least. And then you slowly discover that the Court of Owls does exist, and this is basically the story without giving anything away.
Yeah, because I honestly, that's the whole thing, is that this comic does play a lot on Batman's detective aspect of things, which I thought was kind of cool. They definitely emphasize the detective aspect, so it is kind of hard to go into details of things without spoiling detective-y related things. Hey, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the best way to put it, is you can't really talk about this without giving away massive spoilers. Because even at, like, the end of the first issue, there's a huge, like, big, massive, like, twist. And at the end of at least the first, like, 3 or 4 issues, you kind of looked at yourself and went, huh, so that happened. Well, that's different. I wasn't expecting that. And it just keeps going on and on from there. So, really, to give much more than that is... We'll save that for later.
Yeah. It would not do it justice if you were planning to read it. Definitely, plot-wise, I think it's very well done. The story is definitely very good.
Yeah, and I mean, just setting for people who are looking for different types of books, or maybe you think, I don't like Batman. It is a basic, dark, gritty, Gotham City type, that rhymed, setting. Like anything, it's present day setting, so it's not like 50s or 60s. It's pretty much present day. Everybody has a cell phone type of thing. Yeah, mostly this part of the setting that shoots out to me mostly is just it's very dark in all of it.
Yeah,
it's for anybody who knows Gotham. It's Gotham.
It's Gotham City. You got your murder and your super villains, and you got stuff going on.
There's a street called Crime Street.
Okay, you got to let that go. Crime Alley is a thing that is well established. Okay, save that for later. We'll say that is completely off topic. Okay, all right.
Another part of the storyline that's semi-important is Bruce Wayne in his life. He, as Bruce Wayne, the millionaire person guy, is planning on rebuilding Gotham to make it better. He's making more buildings that are, more appropriate and in places that are generally not good neighborhoods. obviously being supported by politicians. One comes up to him named Lincoln March, says he's running for mayor, and says, "Hey, this is really cool. I like your ideas," and wants to meet with, he becomes very buddy-buddy with Bruce Wayne and works a lot with him upcoming. I think that's it for story and setting that we should say.
At least for now, yeah. I think that we'll get into it later.
Yeah, let's move on to art.
Okay.
Yeah, personally I feel like the art really matched well with the storyline. I'll use it again, dark and gritty. It was a very dark and gritty art style. I like the expressions on the faces and everything, and I feel like everybody looked different enough. I've seen art where all the faces look the exact same. Between Alfred, Bruce, Commissioner Gordon, they all looked, and Dick Grayson, they all looked fairly different. They all had different body types. They all, I enjoyed almost all of the artwork.
Yeah, no, agreed. I have to agree with almost everything you said on the character designs. I personally also enjoyed the fact that the backgrounds were actually well detailed too in a lot of the panels, which a lot of times, especially with Gotham in the Batcave, you could do a lot of just negative space or just leaving it bare bones. But there's a lot of detail on pretty much everything. There's a lot. Gotham feels like Gotham on each page. You don't have to try and guess where you are. The backgrounds are well designed in that aspect, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no, they definitely go into real big detail, especially with all the overarching shots of Gotham. I mean, there's some that have from other Batman comics and shows and things like that, everything's kind of very blurry and foggy, almost like it's an N64 game. But no, this one does it really good justice. One of the things that I picked out that was really neat was kind of, as everything went through with the whole storyline and the theme and things, Batman looks more like a bat, and they give him more of an animalistic feel, especially towards the middle where he gets all grizzly and furry looking type of.
In part of the storyline, yeah.
Yeah, but
I enjoyed the somewhere in the comic, Bruce starts almost losing his mind, and I did enjoy how stuff became a bit more the art became more hectic. While his mind became more, along with the storyline, so it was it all between all of it. It really did add everything together, which was nice.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly where. But I guess I should have probably said this in story, but I'm going to say it with art, and I'll somehow tie it in the end. The pacing in the chapters, because we read first 11. I think it's 11 issues is the main storyline of the Court of Owls. Yeah, and so based on that, the pacing between the individual issues where they would, I think we kind of briefly touched on it before, but it would be you'd be reading through, it's oh, this is interesting, this is pretty good. What? Oh, I guess I'll have to read the next one, because I'm very intrigued. Okay, reading the next one. What? Oh, I guess I'll have to read the next one. So, I mean, the pacing was very well set up. And to tie it into art, because of the tone established by the shading, as well as the clever use of writing art. I tied it in smoothly. Smooth transition. We're good. Good. I like that. Smooth. That's smooth. No one knows.
I also very much the action scenes. It's hard to talk about action in a comic, but the action scenes are very. I liked it. All the characters seemed like they were moving when they were in motion. I know it's something that an artist can lose, where you can't. It looks like somebody is literally posing when they're punching somebody. Batman looked very much. He was very good at getting the postures right for a motion type action scene.
It was real fluid and real nice.
Yeah.
Also, the onomatopoeias where they were there, they were really welcome. They were drawn in and fit into the backgrounds really nicely and fit in there, and it wasn't like
Batman 66 pow, it was.
Yeah, no, they didn't stand out, but they were still there, and you could still appreciate them. And it was really, really neat to be oh, that's an explosion, and it says kaboom, but it's kaboom written in fire. Yeah, I can do that.
That's how kaboom would be spelled if it was really going to appear on an explosion. Sorry.
Are we, think we're all good with art?
I think that.
Let's,
I mean, I already tried to make our art section back about story again because.
I think I might actually discuss something about story in the spoiler section, but
Yeah. All right. So here's the point in the podcast where if you haven't bought Batman's 1 and 2 for the trades, you hit the pause button, go out to your local comic store, and go buy these. While first hitting the pause button, of course, and then you come back, you read them, and then you hit the play button, and do nothing else in between that, because you don't want to mess what we're hearing or saying.
Don't tell these people how to live their lives.
you can't.
You can't tell them not to. I don't think you know how the internet works. We have a show, but that doesn't mean you can like command people what to do. But no, in all seriousness, you should do exactly what he said because this next part's going to be juicy. So
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to be lazy and just kind of listen to us talk about the story and not read it. But I recommend reading it. It was actually a really good book.
Yeah. Okay. That's not a spoiler. That's
spoilers now.
But now spoiler. Yeah. We good?
All right. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Oh, we're saying all at the same time? Yeah. Spoilers. There we go. I feel like that's official.
Harmonics.
That's good.
First off, my thing about the story, one thing that kind of caught all my nerves, was this weird transition. He constantly did this transition, the writer, or I guess between writer and artist, where he transitioned and somebody would be saying something, like they'd be like, I don't know, Bruce Wayne, that's a bad idea. And they would start with the character and the speech bubble and it would say, I don't know, Bruce Wayne, and then it would go to, like, the next scene where Bruce was in, like, the car or something, and it would say, I think that's a bad idea, like, in another box. And it's a cool transition. I just noticed that he did it a lot. Like, that was, like, almost
something else.
Every scene, and I was like, this is a cool transition. Don't use it in a row, please. Like, this, I was like, I mean, that's me personally. I don't know if anybody else even noticed it.
I mean, it's noticeable, but I personally am a fan of that kind of transition, so I forgave it.
I'm sure if we read more Batman at any point in time, or if I continue with the Batman series, it's gonna get on my nerves if it keeps going that way. But for this self-contained, it's like, oh, okay, that's how you're gonna pace the story, that's how you're gonna write this, that's fine. Dial it back a bit.
That was Becca just nitpicking on a piece of storyline.
No, that's more than fine, because this isn't really a spoiler, but I just want to throw out there, for anyone who has indeed read it, the Whisper Gang is awesome. They're only in the comic for 2 pages in, like, the 3rd issue. I don't know what it is. They're, like, an Eastern European gang that has these metal face plates on their face so they can't snitch until they've proven their loyalty, and then they get them taken off, but they're, like, highly trained. I'm like, I want to know about these people. What's going on?
Yeah, no, you could write an entire comic off of their origin story that's given over the course of 2 pages as Batman beats them all up.
Yeah, with a magnet.
And ironically, they snitch.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, well, that's why they're called the Whisper Gang, not the Silence Gang, which honestly... Is there a Silence Gang? 'Cause if not, if I ever turn to crime... No, that's not really terror-induced. Never mind, I think that's really off topic. I'm sorry. Alright. It's not even really a spoiler. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to... when the right time to rant about them would be. I like that.
I was mentioning this before, but and I would have mentioned it during art if it weren't a spoiler. Reading the book, I was kind of... It was weird that Lincoln March... Like I said, like, faces were different, but Lincoln March seemed to be very similar to Bruce Wayne, and I thought it was really weird. I was like, yeah, that's a weird thing. He is, like, the only other grown man of Wayne's size, so I assumed maybe it was because he was drawing similar faces. But then, obviously, at the end...
Are we dropping the bombshell spoiler
Yeah,
here?
we're at the end of Book 2, so if you haven't read Book 2, get on that. Lincoln March is part of the Court of Owls, and he injects himself with the Live Again from Death serum, and fights Batman and says, I'm your brother, and Batman is just like, no, you're not, and kicks his butt. But it was interesting, because obviously you would pick a person who looked like, even whether he is or is not, if he isn't, you would pick somebody who looks like Bruce Wayne to imitate his brother, and if he is, I mean, obviously then they're related and they look alike. But at first I was like, that's weird, they look alike, and then it was like, I get it, you're supposed to look similar.
It's almost like you planned it. Touché, comic. Touché. this isn't like I wrote a lot of notes, and all of my notes are basically things like the Whisper Gang is awesome, and what's up with some of the names here. But I also really enjoyed the fact that one of the first Court of Owl members that's actually identified was Mrs. Powers. She was something Powers, which, having grown up with the DC animated cartoons in the Batman Beyond universe, Derek Powers actually partners with Bruce Wayne as the Wayne Powers industry and actually becomes a supervillain.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
He becomes Blight, I think. I don't know if that's episode 1 of that show. I don't think I need a spoiler in a spoiler section about something that we're not talking about, do I? Double spoiler? I don't know, whatever. Point is, he becomes a supervillain. I don't know if that's intentional or just, because the name Powers implies power, because it's the word, but something fun that I liked.
Something that I both simultaneously loved and hated at the same point in time.
Oh.
Batman's in the labyrinth.
Oh.
And he's starting to go crazy.
Don't do this.
And the pages shift. And they twist.
It's brilliant.
I love that.
It is wonderful, except for the fact that if I was ever reading that book in public, I'd have to hold it like I was looking at like a centerfold, or like I couldn't read English at all, and people would be looking at me like I'm crazy.
He is crazy. The idea.
The point is, he's crazy.
And you get to experience how everything is slowly shifting. Because it's like, first it's sideways. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. I get what they're doing. And then it goes completely upside down. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. I wasn't expecting the twist and then a twist.
No, thematically it was great. Mechanically,
yes, stop there. No, there's no.
I could just imagine reading it on like an iPad or something like that, where the screen would auto-write itself.
Well, okay, touche. That's
legitimate.
Yeah.
But they have lock screen things that you can lock the screen into.
To be fair, a lot of people don't know how to use those.
Oh, okay.
The general public doesn't know how to use a microwave half the time, but everyone's home still has that.
By the way, listeners at home, if you download books on a Kindle or an iPad, you can go into settings and lock the screen so it doesn't tilt when you tilt the screen.
We've just improved the lives of our listeners.
Just a tad.
It's awesome. There's no negative thing to say about that. That is like the most awesome thing for the layout. Because he's going, his whole world is literally being turned upside down. Literally.
And I'd like to take a minute, so just sit right there. So now I can discuss why there's a dinosaur in the Batcave.
There's always a dinosaur in the Batcave.
So that it could step on the talons. Also, if you have that, Bruce Wayne probably got that much money when he was a kid and was like, you know what I'm buying? A dinosaur. Who wouldn't do that? You just became a billionaire.
I didn't think
thing.
of that.
That is probably his first purchase.
Have a dinosaur.
Yeah. And then
Touché.
Making an RC dinosaur. Boom. Done.
Yeah, I don't know why you. RC dinosaur's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, actually, okay. Can that be? I now officially want that to be the name of this podcast. RC Dinosaur. Or I want it when I become a rapper, and then it's gonna be MC Dinosaur. That takes away the. That's off topic again. I'll bring it back.
Super off topic. I liked. Yeah, as far as I know, in most Batman things that I've seen, whether it be movies or not, I think there's dinosaurs pretty much. It's also pretty cool. He also has a giant penny. There's a lot of weird things, so you can't be like, man, he's got a pretty normal cave under his house with bats. And there's a dinosaur. You can't be upset about a dinosaur.
I forgot about the penny.
A lot of things that you have issues with are things that are always in Batman. And this is a good storyline except for Crime Alley. Who names that street Crime Alley?
I didn't read a lot of Batman or watch a lot of Batman.
Well, that is the point.
Yeah, exactly. Hence the point. I'm allowed to have these complaints.
No, because these are complaints people have always had, and it's not relevant to the... Okay.
Yeah, I feel like... I liked, funny enough, when you read the comic, Alfred calls all the Bat people, Bat associates.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Bat family.
Bat family is the word. There we go. Yeah. He calls all the Bat family, and the cool thing was when the comics came out, this story leaked into the other comics, so it leaked into Nightwing, everybody else. Yeah, Batgirl,
Robin.
Batwoman, everybody.
That's what we
so
call
it was,
a crossover.
It was really, it was, I don't know, it was interesting. It kind of stinks that you had to get all those comics.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think that all the storylines intersect and work at once, where this comic is happening, and all of a sudden, Robin's like, "Oh man, need to help Bruce out." Like, I thought it was a pretty cool idea. Obviously, in the book, it doesn't go into detail about it, but I thought it was cool that they actually do, like, recognize that everybody exists still.
Yeah, I like that you could actually sit down with these 11 issues and just read through them without needing all the tie-ins, because I know a lot. There are some story arcs in other I've heard you just need, like, all the side
everything.
books. But in all honesty, this one, there was only like one spot where there was like any kind of feeling of discontinuity, and that's like, I'm going to go save Jeremiah Arkham, and then I'm going to go here to Lincoln March, and it just goes right to Lincoln March. It's like, oh, well, I mean, I guess
there's a nice little note, and it's like, hey, pick this story up in Detective Comics.
And I said no. But
it didn't take away from the story.
Yep.
Really, like, you just assumed that Batman went save the guy and then went and saved Lincoln, which he didn't. But kind of. He didn't really.
Yeah. Also, I guess for the spoiler part, so the Talons are the reanimated dead, which I didn't see that coming. So you have the reanimated dead who are basically formed by Mary Shelley Frankenstein stick 'em with lightning. Is that the science that was basically that I got from it?
I have no, because I'm gonna be rude, and I kind of actually did read into some of the other comics, and it turns out that, like, Mr. Freeze basically was like,
what?
Yeah, I was like, I was very curious. I actually picked up the book, but I felt bad making you read it because you see I had a lot to read. But basically, Dr. Freeze they came up to him, they're like, I would pay you a lot of money to figure out how to bring these people back, and he's like, well, I mean, they're frozen, much like my wife, so I have a lot of test subjects, and basically did that, and then the Court of Owls told the Talons to kill Mr. Freeze.
Oh, yeah, I saw his name on the list. I'm like, why are they bumping off Mr. Freeze on the bottom of the list?
I guess they didn't, I assume they paid him already, I don't know what the point was, but that was a kind of cool tie-in, funny enough, with the whole thing. It wasn't in the book. Huh. You'd actually have to get... There's, oh god, what is it? It's not Night of Owls, actually, funny enough, it's sitting right there. I forget what the name of it is. Is it still sitting there? I forget what it is.
No, just Lumberjane.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's another tie-in. You can ask the guys at your local comic book shop about it. Yeah, it's that one. What's it called?
Whatever. Anyway, okay, because all that was randomly there was I saw, but there's a lot of, like, random little things looking through, like, the computer screens, like the hit lists and this and that.
The Night of Owls. So it's the Court of Owls is Volume 1. Night of Owls is it's basically the book with all the tie-ins. Which, oddly enough, there's a tie-in from Jonah Hex. Go figure.
Well, okay.
I don't know why it has anything to do with that storyline, since Jonah takes place in old Western times. Whatever. Still. And then Volume 2 is, oh god, I forget what Volume 2 is, but there's another Volume 2 that continues the Batman story. If you really like the storyline, then you wanted to continue past it, funny enough, the Night of Owls, the tie-ins give a lot of good storyline to the Talons. A lot of good backstory to the Talons.
Which you know what?
Nice.
I do like that as a concept, because they could have used a little bit more, in all honesty. Like, I mean, you got enough, but storylines scare me when they're like, this is the unstoppable juggernaut equivalent thing. Oh, he died. Let's unleash 40 of them. So I'm like, oh, they're never gonna. That's not gonna work. Those kind of things in movies always bother.
This is one that I never get. Like, Wolverine, it works. But healing factors don't... I feel like it wouldn't work very well on other people. Like, the one guy, he falls on, like, a car and then gets up and lives. Like, that's fine. But if your body heals everything right away, if your bones are broken, your bones are gonna heal in that fused state of broken. Like, your healing factor doesn't automatically bring your bones back into place. Like, Wolverine, it makes sense because his bones don't break. His skin rips and that remodels. But if you break your arm, like, to the point of your arm being bent at a bone in a different direction, your bone heals in that, like, you would just be this, like, new, like, I don't know,
We're also trying to talk logic into people who bring people back by, like, sticking metal pennies underneath of their teeth.
Yeah, there was, for as much as Mr. Freeze had the storyline, it was like, oh, I did this. There still wasn't much of a scientific explanation. It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
I did it.
Plus, also, isn't their weakness the cold?
Yeah,
Like-
I know. Yeah, I don't get that. Whatever.
All right, sorry. Now we're I love how we're like completely undermining that. This was a really good story. Oh my gosh, what's all the stuff that makes no sense? Which I guess is what you'd
Yeah.
want. But all right.
I like the storyline that isn't undermining things. I liked that, like, I wasn't too fond of Lincoln March coming out as his brother, and I feel like it's just because it seems so weird for a book so far into Batman. Like, Batman's been out forever, and for it to be so far in and be like, I'm your brother. Like, I felt like that was almost lazy writing on my... maybe it was just me, but I felt like that was such a weird... Like, that was
right.
like the Star Wars, I'm your father, let me continue the storyline and give us something to fight about. But I did like that Batman never accepted it. He was just like, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, not happening.
That about sums it up. I mean, I like the twist of him not actually being dead because it was all through previously established things. Oh, the serum. Oh, this. Oh, he would do that. Oh, okay. He had ties. That makes sense. It all worked. And then the brother thing, I'm like, I can see what you're doing here, and I'll go along with it. But in all honesty, him just being I don't want to say like an anti-Bruce, but almost an anti-Bruce Wayne, in a sense, in that he was like a philanthropist. He like wanted to help Gotham, but for dark reasons, as opposed.
The Court of Owls is basically like they basically want to they're like, let's just make communist America worse. Let's up the 1% even more. Let's just make it the point, like, whatever percent will own 99% of the money in Gotham. Like, it just seemed really weird how they were so, like, against, like, schools. No. Like, you can't have education.
You're poor. You will learn nothing except that you are poor.
Like, it was,
because you are poor.
It was so, like, I was just like, okay, like, they were like, no, we're taking this city and we're doing stuff with it. And Bruce is like, what are you doing with it? Like, do you really just want to make it worse? Because I don't think that's how cities thrive.
Because you are poor. But then again, in nature, owls are known for looking down on those financially below them. So, I guess that kind of it
also
ties
for
in.
putting people into labyrinths.
I also feel like, I guess owls are enemies of bats, but I feel like it's not nearly at, like, maybe if he was Ratman, like, I would be like,
or
owls.
like Court of the Exterminators.
Yeah,
I also feel like people kill bats more often, but that is everything.
Yeah, I mean,
the Court of People. I think that's Congress, something like that.
I'd like the. All right, can we do a spin-off like an Elseworlds Tale? The Court of People. I will say, all right. Credit where credit is due. Court of Owls is a great name for an organization.
Yeah.
Like, greatly enjoyed it, and overall, I greatly enjoyed the story.
I loved the rhyme.
Yeah.
I forget. Oh God!
It's only
for
the
as
first
much as I've read it, like, because it goes through the rhyme like 12
over
times,
and over and over again.
like to the point of like you sit there and you're just like, I'm not gonna read it because I know exactly what it's telling me right now. But
Looks like Paul's looking it up.
like it. It added like a because it was something that like everybody that Bruce or Batman or whoever told or whoever was like Court of Owls, they were like that fairy tale, like it was something that was involved in Gotham. It gave it a
It added to
lore.
the mythology, and the lore.
So it gave it, they gave it that fairy tale that everybody in Gotham knows about, the Court of Owls.
Huh.
That's the that's the thing.
Beware the Court of Owls that watches all the time, ruling Gotham from a shadowed perch behind granite and lime. They watch you at your hearth. They watch you in your bed. Speak not a whispered word of them, or they'll send a talon for your head. Like,
I also felt like that.
Almost.
It seems counterproductive to make a poem about the Court of Owls,
Yeah, a lot
and then
of
at the
people spoke
end,
about them.
and then at the end of the poem, say, "Don't talk about them the way that you just did in this poem, or we're gonna kill you." Because that seems very counterproductive. Like, hold, I'm not supposed to talk about that. I just did. What?
The first rule of the Court of Owls is not to speak of the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. That, and we have magic zombie reanimation powers, which, science reanimation. Okay, whatever. Basically, this is Batman versus a group of rich people with zombies, I guess.
who in the world doesn't check the 13th floor?
Yeah, that
of
was
every
just what I was about to
like,
say.
There was, oh my, how did you, there was so many places.
Batman knew about
He
the
checked-
hidden gargoyle, but he didn't know about the hidden secret base in the tower that his grandfather built.
Somebody should have known that you went on the elevator and went from 11 to 4, or 12 to 14, and there was enough space for another floor.
Well, no, they established that it was like
take it
mythology to take it out.
But nobody
somebody had to
checked
build
it.
that floor. Like, there were foremen, like, people had to do that.
The Court of Owls built it, I think, is the point.
Rich
Well,
people
no,
can't
they-
build
they-
things.
Rich people pay the poor people and then kill the poor people. That's basically all they did in this entire story.
They were in the middle. They were in the middle of like that floor was there, and nobody checked it. Like nobody was like, "Hey, man, that 13th floor that nobody can ever get on. You think we should check? Maybe there's an owl infestation, or maybe some hornets or something. I don't know. Maybe termites. Nobody checked it ever.
Rich people said no. I don't understand. Like that literally, by making the Court of Owls a group of rich
Some
people.
old man long ago who fell into a freaking sewer made this building without 13th floors. He sounds pretty reasonable. I'm not going to check that 13th floor. It seems pretty like that. I don't know. That blew my mind.
All right, I'm just all right.
Also, dude, if I could have those contact lenses that Bruce has in the beginning, where it was like, "Let me see your face. I know who you are exactly."
Give Google
like that.
5 more
Oh,
years.
my God. I hope so, because
I will just stare at people.
But if I could go to a social setting,
That's harassment.
if I could go to a social setting or something, and it's just like, "Hey, Becca, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Ooh, I don't remember who you are. Should I remember it?" And then my eyes would be like, "Dude, you met him like 2 years ago. His name's Joe. He worked with you." And it's like, "Oh, Joe, I remember you. I worked with you." Done.
We did that thing
awkward.
that's still loading.
We did that thing. Yeah,
I
it
remember
was
that
great.
time when we still buffering. Oh wait,
Be beautiful.
Yeah. Ooh, that would. Oh man, yeah, because you'd have to have the right network. Oh man, your data bills though would be through the roof.
I mean, I
Gotcha.
guess Bruce Wayne. Speaking of which, that was the last comic was cool. I liked it. I liked the last comic, number 12. It's going to be the last piece in your book. But somewhere mid comic, about issue 7-ish, if you're reading the book, it doesn't help you much, but it should be in issue 1 near the end. This girl with a welding mask saves Bruce.
Harper Row.
Harper Row. And basically the interaction is, "Who are you? I'm me, it's you, don't get in my way," and he runs off. And it's like, okay, well, you know this person, I don't know who this person is. Like, it was really like should I know who you are? And then, so, volume 2, or issue 12, they explain that she's this mechanic who works on the wiring of Gotham, and she basically, like, she has run-ins with Batman. Batman saves her at a point. She finds Batman's, like, electrical boxes, and does some stuff. But I found the comic interesting. I liked it. It had a variety of characters. It was weird that the art changed halfway through, which was kind of weird to me. But overall, I liked that comic. I found it weird that it was there. I feel like it should have been in the middle, maybe. But whatever.
Going back to Court of Owls. Because there's more things to talk about that. I found it funny that Bruce Wayne was trying to build more of Gotham so that he could add spying spots, and then had to fight people who had spying spots all over Gotham and had beat him to it.
Well, I think that was part of his point, was like the
Yeah.
whole storyline was building up to, like, Bruce beginning was like, "I know this town, I've checked the 13th floor of everything," and, thought that he knew everything, and then the Court of Owls comes out and go like, "We've been hiding underneath the whole time. Did you know there was a maze underneath Gotham the whole time?" Like, and he gets this feeling of like, I don't know what Gotham is, but I know what's best for it, and I think he ends up deciding on making the buildings without the hidden stuff in it. But I mean, no offense, if the guy's spending millions of dollars on building buildings and making houses for people who generally didn't have nice houses, he can put some spy stuff in it. I'm not gonna be too mad.
Yeah, I thought that overall the emotional arc for Batman was well done in this, like the highs and lows over the course of the story.
Yeah, no, usually it's just like angst, anger,
Yeah, it was
anger,
nice
my
that he
parents
was a
are dead,
person.
and then, now.
Yeah.
Had character development.
I liked the development in... It was pretty funny, but like the fact that like he begins and he's like, I thought the Court of Owls killed my parents, but then I, as a kid, decided that it didn't, and then now as a 40-year-old, take my 12-year-old advice and detective skills for reals. I don't know why he did that, but it was cool that like he thought it, and then the Court of Owls like, maybe we didn't, and they were like, no, we didn't. Like, we didn't. But we killed your brother.
Yeah.
The brother could have been.
Yeah. I was really, that's the one thing that, maybe that's why I wasn't as harsh on the ending as, like, Brian, I know you didn't like the ending too much with the brother thing, but the fact that the Court of Owls was not responsible for the death of his parents was the right decision, because as much as they were saying, you know, they're responsible for the death of Wayne's and blah, 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 the fact that it was a random act of violence is kind of what makes him becoming Batman make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't do that. That's the... Yeah.
So, I guess that's about it. That's it for our spoiler section.
Yep, and I guess we should just probably go around and be like, would we recommend this? Because I definitely would. I mean, even with all the weird problems and silly nitpicks I had a lot of fun with it, and it was really an interesting read, and it was a really good read, and it was one of those comics that, like I said before, at the end of every issue, you went, oh, wow, that's a huge spoiler. And I feel like if I was getting this week to week, it would be painful to have to sit and wait and find out what happened to Batman next.
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot, and it was a very good, starter book, because obviously the storyline began and ended. Past Dick Grayson, who, even at that, he was pretty much explained almost wholly in the book. Everybody is knowable. You know who they are. You know their storyline. If you don't know it, you get it. So it's a very good book to start off on, especially if you don't know much. I mean, obviously, if you don't know Bruce Wayne's Batman, I think we spoiled that in the non-spoiler section.
Oh, we are terrible people.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, a great book, a good storyline. I enjoyed it. And a very good place to start with Batman, I think.
I think all three people who didn't know Bruce Wayne was Batman are going to come and bang down our door now.
Just don't give them the address. That would be the smart thing to do. But what do I know? Yeah, I guess my verdict on it. Having not read through the New 52 at all, and this being my first actual storyline I've read of it, I actually think it was very enjoyable. I said the pacing was great. You really wanted to know what happened next. The art was good. Both, I think Dark and Gritty's gotten thrown around a couple times. But that's what you want for your Batman comic. You don't want a light and fluffy Batman too often. I mean, I guess there's a time and a place for it. But this wouldn't have worked well with this storyline. And Court of Owls was a good villain. Talon, despite us trying to figure out the science behind it, they were formidable foes that were genuinely unnerving. Yeah, so overall, I greatly enjoyed it. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I think that's 3 rousing thumbs up.
I'm giving a thumbs up, but this is the internet, so it's not really visual. But
visual on
3 reanimated talons up.
There you go. Oh, we need to come up with a scale for these things now. Yes, 3 out of 3, I guess.
Well, there's 3 of us, so I figured.
Okay, so out of 3.
Yeah.
I like this.
If it's a thumbs down, it's a dead talon. They're
dead talon. Oh, yeah.
Not coming back.
They're frozen. And
whatever it is.
Let it. Oh, wait, no, I won't. I won't do a Frozen joke.
No,
I won't.
You're just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
So, this is somebody who doesn't read comics.
If you like what you heard tonight and want to hear Paul get off topic on things, you can always follow us on Facebook at As Someone Who Doesn't Read Comics. You can follow us on Twitter at I Don't Read Comics, and you can send us your comments, concerns, suggestions at idon'treadcomics@gmail.com. We really, really, really want to know what you guys want to hear about. Maybe you want to hear where to pick up on Superman. Maybe you want to know what the latest and greatest in independent comics is. We'll find out so that you don't have to Wikipedia it. Thanks for listening.
And as always, the book was better.